right, let's talk about job interviews and how they are, for most people, they have to be one of the most pressure-filled moments that you face in your life. And in full disclosure, I haven't been in a job interview in years, right? Like 9 years ago, I joined Ramsey Solutions. This has been a long time. And so I'm out of practice. And before that, I hadn't been in one in a long time. So I'll bet you I've been in like 5 or 6 job interviews in my life. So, and I am a guy that likes pressure. Not everybody does. But I'm trying to be empathetic here and put myself in most people's shoes. And I've talked to people, it's a pressure-filled situation. So you're already under pressure. And so executives have their little things they're looking for. Everybody, every job interviewer, every hiring manager should have some things they're looking for in the interview process. Well, one particular executive has got a little test. And he shared the test on a podcast, and it's gone viral. We're going to talk about it. It's called the Coffee Cup Test, and it's a guy by the name of Trent Inez. He's in Melbourne, Australia, and he goes on to a popular business podcast called the Venture Podcast, and he tells a story about how he uses this coffee cup test. And so here's what he does. He escorts the job interview candidates to an office kitchen. And he offers them a cup of coffee or some other beverage before he moves to the question. So this is essentially the icebreaker. How you doing? Oh, yeah, come on over. Let's get a cup of coffee. Would you like a latte or whatever he says? Who knows? And the candidates who don't offer to take their empty cups back to the kitchen. So essentially what happens is we go to a kitchen, we get a cup of coffee, we move into his office, and then he conducts the interview. And when the interview's done, his litmus test, the coffee cup test, is if the candidate does not offer to take his or her empty cup and maybe it says cups, back to the kitchen at the end of the interview, he is unlikely to give them a job offer. This is what he says about it. You can develop skills, you can gain knowledge and experience, but it really does come down to attitude. And the attitude that we talk a lot about is the concept of wash your coffee cup. He then goes on to explain he thinks that this test weeds out job candidates who wouldn't be a workplace culture fit. And there's been a lot of comments on this. One answer, and I'm going to go to Alex, the producer here, because I'm not on TikTok. He is. He's cooler than me. And so I'm curious what the range of comments was. There's one that's cited here in the article. And then, Alex, I want to get your take. One user on TikTok wrote, I feel like it's weird to wash your own cup at an interview when you're a guest there. I'd probably just ask what they want me to do with the cup. But I think that's the whole point. I don't think they're saying, the guy's not saying he wants you to wash your cup. He's saying, are you conscientious enough to say, I'm going to pick up my mess? And so this user was like, I don't know. So again, this is what's wrong with social media. I just want to point that part out. This person is commenting on something that the dude never said. Now, Alex, what were the range of comments? Was it obvious to you when you scanned the TikTok that it was a lot of support for or against this guy? I'm guessing a lot of people thought it was a stupid move or a pinhead or a jerk move.
Oh, yeah. Some people stooped as far as to say this was manipulative. This was, just completely insane. And some people really loved it. They thought it was a great way to really see somebody's character in that, in an action like that.
Right. So I see one here that says, I understand the spirit behind it, given that I hate people not cleaning up after themselves. But it's not fair or accurate way of testing people. Okay, so I come down on that. That user's comment is where I come down. And so here's what my thinking is. What if a person doesn't want the coffee? Can you judge someone's character? That's what I would say to this guy. I'd want to know. Surely that's happened.
Did they throw the Mountain Dew bottle away or the Monster Energy?
Well, what if you didn't ask them? What if you asked them and they said, I don't want the drink, thank you very much? So now what do you do? I mean, certainly this guy's got to have another way of figuring out in the interview if this person is who he thinks they are or who he wants them to be. Let me say that. Now, here's my beef with this whole process. I'm a guest on a lot of podcasts. I wonder if this guy's not just throwing this out there and he's making a bigger deal of it than it is. That's the first question I have, keeping it real. Guy goes on a podcast and he thinks he's Mr. Spiffy, Mr. Smart Guy. I do it. I'm always looking to make an impression on a podcast. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying the guy doesn't do it. I'm saying I don't buy that this test is as big a deal as he made it out. So I'm going to throw some cynicism out. That's my first thing. I'm calling BS on that's like the litmus test. That's my first thing. Could be wrong. Second, I started out this segment saying a lot of people in a job interview, it is the most pressure-filled moment of their lives, and who among us is super in the moment and super thoughtful and super polite and super aware in a job interview. And so let me take you there. All right, so you're sweating bullets. You're trying to impress this guy. You got a cup of coffee on the table. He goes, all right, Ken. Enjoyed our time. We'll get back in touch with you. Let me tell you the first thing I'm thinking. I'm like, geez, I hope I nailed that. Close well. So I want to shake his hand, look him in the eye and go, hey, thanks for the opportunity. I'm so grateful you gave me that. Man, I'm so great. Loved it. And so at that point, I'm already up. Like I'm up. I'm standing up. I've shook his hand. Hey, I'm up. I know I went out of frame. I don't care. But that's what I'm doing, right? And guess where the coffee cup is? Nathan, I won't do that to you again. But guess where the coffee cup is? The coffee cup, for me in that moment, is nowhere on the planet. I'm here. I'm up here. I've stood up. The coffee cup is down here. I'm thinking, I got to walk out. My time is done. I thank this guy. And if I'm lucky, Alex, as I turn to walk out with this guy, because if he's doing it the way that I think he's doing it, he's kind of stepping up. He's standing you up and he's moving you out the door. And he wants to see if you're going to go, what should we do with the cups? Well, let me just tell you something, where Ken Coleman's brain is. My brain is eye contact, gratitude, final impression as I walk out. The last thing on my freaking mind is the stupid coffee cup. It's the last thing on my mind. So my judgment, I think it's a bogus test. I don't think it reveals much at all. It just may reveal how present someone is because they're not freaking out. That's not a character thing, man. I think this is silly. I think he's trying to make a big deal on a podcast, and he struck gold.